Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Biggleswade Town Council meeting, Tuesday, the 11th of March. Usual reminder that to meeting attendees that this is a formal meeting. I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during the public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. And as always, can I ask everyone to mute their microphones when not speaking. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Apologies from Councillor Barrett, Councillor Knight, Councillor Woodhead, and there's Councillor Sajid has apologies, but also is attending online, I understand. I think everyone else is here. Next item then is declarations of interest. Any disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests in any agenda item, please? Councillor Russell.
Non-pecuniary in terms of planning items 10D and 10J.
10D, 10J. Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? No? Okay. We will move on then to the next item. Town Mayor's announcements. I have no announcements, but Councillor Strawn attended Central Beds on our behalf as a representative for Central Beds budget, and I've offered Councillor Strawn the opportunity to have update us at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. About a month ago, local councils were invited to send a representative to meet with the Chief Executive and leading councillors with regard to an explanation of CBC's budget provision. I think everyone's well aware that they have got considerable financial constraints at the moment. Their reserves are down to 34 million, I believe, which is about 6 weeks worth of expenditure. So that's a concerning situation, but there are certain things that they explained that they have got to comply with, i.e. their statutory obligations with regard to particularly care, and in terms of residential care of people they support, from having had 16 new cases, I believe, in 2023, there were 101 the next year. So just that little bit of the budgeting is difficult. They also have learning disabilities to cater for, and in some cases they are paying a care package of £15,000 a week on one case alone. In terms of travelling for school children who need to be taken there, taxis can easily cost £10,000 a year. So these are statutory obligations that Central Beds have got to comply with, and it's part of the problem with the care sector as a whole. So there are certain things beyond their control. I don't think we wish to go into how they got into that financial situation, but what was encouraging is they've apparently now updated so that there should be full transparency with regard to Section 106 budgeting, which hopefully will come to pass, and we'll be able to find out a bit more about what's available. But what is encouraging is they're looking at holding more meetings like that so that they can deal with queries from the town and parish councils. And indeed, I think we've been invited to a meeting with them fairly shortly, which is a very encouraging and positive sign, and hopefully we'll be able to make constructive progress so that CBC and ourselves can work together to better the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. The microphone on.
Yes, please. It's just on item 10C, land north and south of Dunton Lane, on the battery storage. So this planning application is additional to the application that I think has already been considered for Harmony, which is battery store. They're a company that put these batteries in place that's going adjacent to the co-ops building, subject to planning. This is additional to that. I've raised some questions with the officer who is responsible for sort of seeing the application through. And the landscaping came online quite late, and it is there now. So if you've had an opportunity to look in the last, I'd say 4 days or so, I think it's now online. I'm in two minds about this, and I'd be genuinely interested to hear what colleagues think. But as far as a landscaping plan goes, you know, I remember when the planning application came forward for the substation itself. As the town council, I remember at the time pushing really, really hard to get very good landscaping and set, I think, a very high bar for what that landscaping looks like. Now, I've looked at planning policies, and most of the landscaping requirements in the neighbourhood plan, the local plan, tend to refer to employment sites. So I think it's a bit of a grey area. But just going on history, I'm sort of inclined to try to raise the bar a little bit higher when it comes to this landscaping. It looks as though it's got a hedgerow around the outside and some trees, but the lack of detailed drawings and sort of what the visibility will be like from Dunton Lane seems to be kind of a bit lacking for me. So I'm in two minds about how to respond, whether that's support, but I want to see more trees in there, or object until we do. So I'd be curious as to what colleagues think about that. And I haven't submitted my response to this application yet. So if I can align with the town council, I'd really like to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Fage. Anyone online? No, thank you. Okay, so in which case we will move swiftly on to item 5, invited speaker. So we have Anne Jeeves, PCSO, with us, and also Inspector Jim Goldsmith. So I'm going to invite you to speak, and over to you.
Sorry, that helps, doesn't it? Right. So I'll start by saying that I'm sure most people are aware now that Beds Connected is up and running, which is a way that we connect. We can speak to people through emails, and people that normally wouldn't talk to us or know what we're doing, we can relay messages through Beds Connected. And using that system, we also do surveys asking members of the public what they think about different things and what's their priority. So from that, the priorities we can then read and we can take to our quarterly meeting. So when the council come to our meetings, we can also say what the members of the public are voting for as well. So what shows is that drugs and antisocial behaviour was high and speeding was high. And they're the two priorities we've had in the last quarter and the quarter before that. So they are things that we are working on, and we've got a new quarter coming up in April. So we'll be looking at if we need to change the priorities or if we're going to keep them the same again. So we're doing lots of work around speeding. When we can, we're going out with a speed gun. Obviously, we're doing the villages as well as Biggleswade Town Council, Biggleswade area. The drug side of things in Biggleswade, which includes prolific shoplifters quite often because they're shoplifting to support their drug habit. We've done an awful lot of work in the last 3 or 4 years. So now we're trying to hold it and make sure that it doesn't come back to how it was. And that's going really well at the moment. And the antisocial behaviour that can come off of anything drug related or shoplifting related, or even young people, we're focusing on that as well.
Okay.
I'd like to add.
Yes, a couple of other updates, which I'm sure you may or may not already be aware of. You've had a change of inspector. You've now got Inspector Janine Graham, who's your area inspector, and hopefully she should be along to the next meeting to introduce herself and do that. One thing I will be asking Janine to liaise with Peter is over other town meetings, we present a performance report. I was a little bit surprised to see we don't do it here. So what I'm going to ask to do is to introduce that performance report. So you've got that regular update on what your local team's doing, some of the crime and performance stats and other bits and pieces like that. But other than that, I'm really here just to support Anne and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. So on that basis, members, any questions, please? Anyone wish to go first? Councillor Russell.
Well, it's not a question, but we've all been made aware of what happened over the weekend, which is definitely antisocial behaviour, and a wall that we just spent time and money on next to the splash down Mill Lane has been pushed over. what about 4 courses of bricks have gone over. And our people have had to remove the bricks yesterday. And now we've got to find time and money to put it back together again. And it's not long since it's been done. There was also problems in the cemetery where some hedging was pulled up that's just been set. And some rubbish dumped in the Eagle Farm Road play area. So that's 3 things in one weekend. Yeah, sorry, but just wanted to table that.
Yeah, I was working this weekend. Obviously, the focus was on the event in town.
Yes.
Has all 3 of those things been reported?
I'm not sure. I'd ask the clerk.
Karen, did you want to do an update?
So we've reported the wall being impacted off Mill Lane. The other 2, no, not yet.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to ask? Councillor Strawn.
To 2 questions, if I may, of more one as an observation. Welcome the reporting to the council, because historically the police always did used to give regular reports to the council, and we were actually, I think, being told that it was not possible for some of these reports to be made. So I'm sure we would all welcome that as a positive thing. Secondly, there seems to be a proliferation of e-scooters around the town, going along at quite excessive speeds at times, either on the road or on the footpath. And as theoretically, at least, the majority of those are probably illegal, as I understand it, as you shouldn't have private e-scooters. Are the police going to do anything about it? Because it's only a matter of time, I think, before someone probably less mobile is going to get hit by one of these things, and I don't have requirements for insurance or anything else. So are the police going to do anything about that? Because I regard that as antisocial, even if they are delivering food to people at 9 o'clock at night.
A couple of parts for that. All e-scooters are illegal. They're not legal in this country unless they've been authorised under one of the trial schemes, which unfortunately the results of that have been delayed well over a year. Otherwise we wouldn't have this problem now. We do target them where we can, but we very much do an engage, explain, enforce, because we find a lot of it is around parents actually buying these scooters for their children. So you get a lot of very young people on them. Where we get specific instances of them being used in an antisocial way, and we can catch some evidence of it, we use Section 59 of the Police Reform Act, which enables us to issue a notice to them if we see them on camera, or we can ask them for the insurance. That's a bit harder with the scooters themselves. If we see them on the road, they're not insured. If there's an adult on them, we will recover them. There are some complexities about how we recover them and where we store them, thanks to the quality of the batteries and the chance that they might ignite and do other bits and pieces. But the short answer is yes. And in the very near future, picking up on the delivery bikes side, powered bikes is the other issue you'll have around Biggleswade and everywhere else, where you've now got Deliveroo and every other associated company that delivers food using riders on those bikes. A fair percentage of those bikes, although they're legal if you have to pedal to move them, because it should be assisted. However, that you can buy a pack off of Amazon where you can upgrade the bike and just use the throttle and off you go. So there's been some recent changes within our traffic department and commercial vehicle unit, and the team's going to be trained in those changes probably within the next month to 6 weeks, which will then enable them to be able to identify which ones are illegal, which ones are not properly, and again, we'll be seizing those. Part of the challenge, having had the trial in Cambridgeshire with that, is we will probably need to tell the public on the nights we're doing it not to expect their food. Because that was one of the feedback points. They stopped so many that it interrupted on the food deliveries and had that knock-on impact. But yeah, we're very much aware of it and doing our best. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions from anybody else? Doesn't sound like. Well, I think in which case, thank you so much for coming. I know it's always a pleasure to come down to us as well, but thank you for now doing an update, and look forward to seeing the reports in due course, and come back again next time. You're obviously always welcome. So thank you very much. Right. Thank you. So I'm going to move on then to item 6, which is members' questions. So any members' questions, please? Councillor Skilton.
Hiya, thank you. On Saturday, I was approached by a resident I was with Councillor Thomas about Drove Road Chapel, and the resident lives nearby, and they were concerned that the chapel was being marketed as now not, for to be let, and the agent is telling people there's no CCTV. I've had a conversation with the clerk, and I understand that the CCTV that used to be there was temporary, and it's now no longer there because it's not needed. I just wondered if there was a mechanism whereby we could reinstate the CCTV if it became needed, because I know of 2 particular residents nearby the cemetery that are concerned about the antisocial behaviour starting up again if the CCTV has been removed.
Oh, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, I think Karim, maybe you'd like to do the update connected to that. Well, obviously, you and I had a chat about this recently about whether or not there was any opportunity for a kind of mobile camera. So Karim might be able to do an update. Thank you.
Thanks. So a while ago, there are a whole range of locations which came up as sort of priority or not priority, as the case may be, sort of ebbs and flows, which are shared with the police as well in terms of locations for potentially putting cameras in. Just under 3 years ago, actually, just from now, there was obviously a project to improve the unconsecrated side of the chapel and the whole fabric of the building. Members resolved quite a while ago to put a camera in place, largely to safeguard the outputs from that project and avoid any kind of vandalism happening to that project as it was unfolding. At the time, it's valid to say that Heart CCTV, our partner as well, had advised that putting cameras in cemeteries, generally speaking, if they're put in place, they should not shine on any areas of around the graves at all, for reasons of data privacy, data protection, and therefore that's kind of how we introduced the camera there. Now that the project's kind of finished, there are other locations for to deploy the camera, and essentially without sort of flagging up any of those, that was the next kind of turn of the wheel on this for that specific location, which Councillor Skilson's mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
And I think when we've been considering where might be the most appropriate place to go, we were talking perhaps about one of our car parks where there's some issues that we've got. Yeah.
I mean, that's right. There's, like I say, there's a list of priority locations anyway, which was marked out, a while ago, not that long ago actually, but again, it's shared and discussed with the police. But essentially, yes, the Rose Lane car park would be one location which comes up next in terms of activity there.
But essentially, it's not a case of not being able to use a mobile camera in Drove Road Chapel. It's a case of where it sits within the priorities. So it's not a case of no, it's a case of where the priorities are. Is that what we're saying? Or did I misunderstand what was being said there? Yeah.
So that's to say though that the camera, as it's been in situ at Drove Road Chapel, has been there to look down both, where it shines, essentially off the not to do with the grave areas. That's all, but largely the fabric of the building.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I think we've got an answer. I think it's maybe something that can come up again in future, Councillor Skilton. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Russell?
I'm going to harp on again about an island in St Andrews Street. I was horrified the other day to see an elderly couple crossing there, and they could barely move, if we're honest, and I just stood there and sort of almost ready to rush into the road and stop the traffic or something. And this unofficial answer that we've got from Central Beds is just not what we need. So I'm just asking for it to be pushed again, because we made that formal decision as a council that we should have an island there, and there are people crossing there all the time. And what we were told in that email that came into the office about it's dangerous because there's an exit from a private property there. So it's better to not have anything, even though there's exit from a private property than it is to have something because there's an exit. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think we really need to look after the people who want to cross the road there.
Correct.
Yeah, thanks. No, I agree. So essentially what we've done is we had a response, as Councillor Russell says, from the 11th of February from CBC saying they would be formally writing to the town clerk with a response, but the unofficial response was, as you've already said. And so we followed that up again twice, and most recently yesterday, again, asking for that formal response. So we're awaiting that now.
Okay, I know it will come, so keep it on the agenda. If it's not on the agenda, I know you'll raise it, Councillor Rice, which is fine. I think it's important that we keep going with it.
Just to reinforce something connected to that, we have a management meeting every Tuesday, but when we get to a situation with CBC and other partners where we're sensing that we're not making reasonable progress, we do escalate it to Lorna Carver, who's obviously the Deputy Chief Exec and the relevant director. And in some other highways related matters, we've done exactly that. And Lorna is trying her best to intervene with her colleagues. So I know it's not an ideal situation, but we're trying our best.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just say, I'm not arguing with officers here. I know they're trying their best, but we've got to keep on and on.
Yep, quite right.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wishing to have any other questions? Nope. Okay, in which case we will move on to item 7, minutes and recommendations of meetings. So the first one we have is the so we're now on page 8 of your pack, minutes of the Town Council meeting of the 11th of February. So firstly, for accuracy on page 8 and accuracy for page 9, page 10, page 11. Councillor Agnew.
The paragraph on Lloyd's Bank closure, who have a national campaign promising to keep facilities open.
I'm not quite sure where you were, Councillor Agnew. Would you mind just reminding me?
Page 11?
Yeah, page 11, sorry.
Lloyd's Bank closure.
Yeah. Which, yeah, sorry.
Third line, after promising, we need to stick the preposition to.
Right.
Perhaps.
I think we have that.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you. Anything else on page 11? No, page 12 and page 13. Okay, so other than that, you're happy for me to sign those off, please? Thank you. And then we have, we also have the draft of the town centre management meeting. So really just to note that the draft is there so for members to review, but we're obviously not going to be considering at this point as usual, unless there's anything of anything significant, which I don't think there is, needs to come forward at this point. So we'll review at the next meeting. So I'm going to move directly back onto matters arising for the town council meeting. So we're back on to page 8 again, matters arising on page 8 of the pack, please. Page 9. Yes, Mr. Tarrant, yes.
Under item 5A, members will recall that one of the outcomes connected to that was to have a working group with members at Northall Parish Council. And I've been in contact with Tracy Duffy, who's their parish clerk there. We're just trying to understand which of our members would like to join that working group.
Okay, so I'm not sure that we agreed what a membership might look like. So this is about trying to get working together with an approach towards what we were going to do with the crossing over the A1.
I'll join, as I've been involved in this already with previous meetings on the subject.
So Councillor North.
I've also been involved for some time on this, so I'd like to continue to be involved. Okay,
is there anyone else? Councillor Skilton?
Yeah, I'd like to join, please, just to make sure the provision is very suitable for walking, cycling, wheeling, wheelchair use, and things like that.
Okay, that's three members of the council. Anyone else anyone else? Okay, well, I think that's a good number to start with, at least, and I think at least we've got depending on how things work. If you feel that there's a need for any additional members, that again come back to council if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. We're now on anything else on page 9, then matters arising. No. Page 10, matters arising, please. Councillor Alban.
Thank you. So under 8 matters arising. So the first sentence there, which is about item 6B. So this is about the bank disappearing on the footpath and the river Ivel. It does say there that we asked for an update to come to the next council meeting. I know it's not on the agenda. I did have an email forwarded to me from Councillor Woodhead, who it was from the town clerk, but I just wondered, so only some members have seen that. So it would be good to have all members aware of what conversations have been taking place.
I think that's quite right. I mean, obviously some members are not more interested, but obviously have actively asking questions. It's quite right. But I think if it's information that's helpful, please share it. Yeah. Councillor Skilton.
Hi, just to interject really with a bit of an update. So this came up at the last Greenwell Development meeting, and BRCC along with CBC right-of-way officers are looking at diverting the path some way away from the river, so the erosion of the bank is not such an issue. And they're also doing a variation on the permission they need to work on basically the riverbank from the Environment Agency, because the way the path is now effectively going to move or is moved, they need a variation to that, which has delayed the improvement works to that section of the right of way.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Understandable again as well. So okay. Thank you. Well, anything else on page 10? Oh, Councillor Russell.
I just wanted to add what was being said, that actually we're having problems with the whole length of riverbank now. I'm aware of, I mean, there was one that we discussed some time ago up nearer towards Mill Lane, but there are other bits where you can see that the bank has been reinforced in the past with sleepers, railway sleepers or whatever, and the bank is being scoured round them. So, I mean, I think we're on a battle that we're going to lose eventually along an awful lot of that path, which is a shame. Because I mean, that although the new path is great that BRCC have put in, you wouldn't know you were walking along the river, and that's the problem with the path that goes the other way towards Jordan's. You're just walking along a sort of made-up path that could be anywhere. Yeah. So, but I think the river will have its way. And I think I remember in geography lessons something about Oxbow Lakes, and I think that's what our stretch of river is doing.
I was just tempted to educate on my limited knowledge of geography, but I won't. So we'll move on. Councillor Alban, did you have anything else on this?
Yeah. In the same item matters arising, the second part of that, where it's talking about the cutting schedule for Crab Lane. I wonder if we do have any confirmation of who did do the work yet, and what the cutting schedule might be.
Mr. Saini.
Unfortunately not yet, but we have submitted 2 requests, one through to CBC that met with a response of they were passing it through to their arboricultural team, and then that team did respond saying, can we please fill in our request again on fixmystreet.com, which we did, and we're now waiting. That's now been that was switched yesterday to they are now investigating our report. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. The reason I'm particularly interested in this is that does get very overgrown, and it's an important route to school. So it was very overgrown before it was cut last, and it'd be very useful to know when the next scheduled cutting is, because if it's not as we would like it to be, there might be scope for extra cutting supported by the town council.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's probably a couple of others in the town. One that sort of comes to mind is Potham Road, the Potham Road Bridge down. That's always it's a narrow path anyway. So perhaps that's another one that we might not specifically now, but it's something to have in mind if we're in contact with Central Beds around this sort of matter. Maybe one of interest as well. Okay, shall we move on then to anything else? Nothing on page 10 to page 11 and matters arising. Councillor Strawn.
Yes, item D of the Lloyds Bank closure. I believe that various things have happened I'm aware and conscious that we've had a negative response from one particular organisation, which is not encouraging. However, subject to what the town clerk will advise us as an update in the moment, I would hope that we will keep this on the agenda in one form or another, possibly to go on to TCM agenda, because I'm suspicious that the people who have rejected it in the first instance haven't actually taken into account all the criteria. And I think that when it does come to Lloyds Bank actually closing, I'd like to think this town council will be able to present a full argument to them rather than just imagine asking the question about whether it's satisfied. But certainly from having read the criteria, I don't think the people making the assessment have considered the criteria fully, other than the fact that we don't at present comply with the requirements.
Mr. Tarrant.
Thank you. So I think the first thing to say on page 11 is all 7 resolved items have been actioned. So that's the first piece of good news, I think. Cash Access UK came back very swiftly after I submitted the application and declined our application. The first thing that they said to us was that they were concerned that we had submitted yet another application within a very short period of time, which was kind of untypical. And secondly, that they had conducted an assessment and that they had looked at local provision. They tell me that within 1 mile, there's an urban location for ATMs, and within 3 miles, there is a rural location. As such, we do not entitle to a banking hub, and we do not entitle to additional ATM provision. This is their set criteria. I persevered because I'm aware from listening to the postmaster that actually there is a lot of interest within Biggleswade. There's a big proportion of the community who feel concerned about this subject. So I stressed to them that, it may be that we would want to have a petition of some sort and get a sense of the whole community getting behind this, to which they responded, the criteria is the criteria, irrelevant of petition, irrelevant of volumes of concern within the community. It is quite straightforwardly a no. And then just reminded me that they are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So it's a very clear, I'm sorry, we're not able to progress.
So I think, given that we have made an application in February, then are we looking to have some sort of a target for when we next make an application? I understand that we've got some sort of feedback on that, and I'm just conscious that if we applied in, let's say it was October, November, December last year, and we're applying again, are we conscious we need to do something and keep it on our agenda, but actually making continual applications if they've already rejected it? I'm just wondering what members are thinking. So I'm offer that comment up, and anyone feedback on it. Councillor Strawn.
Well, I think the fact is that the circumstances will change by November this year. There will be no bank in town, which is a reason for the application being reviewed then. Yep. But what my proposal effectively would be that we actually put it to Town Centre Management Committee to prepare the argument in advance of that. We've got plenty of time before November. I disagree with their comments because we want a banking hub. We're not so concerned about the ATM situation, but when you look at the catchment area that we've got, because it's not only Biggleswade that was without a bank, but Langford, Shefford, Sandy, Potton. There are no banks in the area. The closest virtue being Hitchin, Letchworth. Even Letchworth hasn't got a bank. And there are the villages surrounding. We've got business there. The town is growing. We have lots of elderly and disabled people who would actually like the personal contact with people. So it's not just about ATM machines, it's about a banking hub. But I think it's from the approach that's been taken. I think we know what the assessment criteria are. I think we should be preparing our own criteria and explaining exactly why and what they should be taking into account so that we don't get fobbed off in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Strawn. Mr. Tarrant.
Just as a point of clarity, which may be helpful, but concerning at the same time. As I was persevering with this, I got rather a lengthier response, and they said to me, it is worth noting that those regulations are focused on access to cash rather than access to broader banking services. That's their predominant criteria. It may lead to an outcome like a banking hub, but that's their first criteria.
Okay, so it sounds that what I'm hearing from Councillor Strawn is that it would be helpful if it were an agenda item for TCM over the coming weeks. So perhaps Peter, if you can discuss with the chair of TCM, he's not here this evening, and discuss our approach at the next meeting. Happy with that? Okay. Shall we move on? So we'll move on then to where are we? We're now on to items of consideration 9A, Lawrence Road.
But we haven't finished page 12 or 13 on that.
Oh, I beg your pardon. So I've just got too excited there, Councillor Strawn, right?
TCM minutes as well.
So page 12, page 12, matters arising. And page 13, matters arising. Thank you. It's well worth going back over that. Thank you very much. Right then, so back to where I was then. So we're now going to 9A, items to consideration, Lawrence Road.
Isn't it TCM minutes?
No, we're not considering those. So, we're not considering because it's we consider the TCM. So we have them to note, but consideration happens at the TCM. Councillor Agnew.
May I just suggest that in those TCM notes, although we are not considering them, there was a name of Anna, the leader of Biggleswade LGBT group. I'd like to propose that we actually put full names of the visitors and guests. I think it's strange to have just name without surname.
Yeah, noted.
Thank you.
And that, I've seen nods, so that's we'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, if you're talking about. Yeah, I'm not listed as present, which I was.
Okay, we will take that. We'll make that amendment, although we're not talking about it. We'll note it. Thank you. We'll move on. Thank you. Right. So, where were we? We're on 9A. Was it? I've said this the third time. 9A. No. So 9A, which is the no waiting on at any time on Lawrence Road. Any comments, any feedback in relation to this item, please? Okay, I'm going to go. Well, we'll go Councillor Skilton first, then Councillor Russell, then Councillor Strawn.
So normally, I'm quite supportive. Well, I'm very supportive of things that make cycling easier. This is on a national cycle route, and it does need to be better. It's very poor. I cycle down there a few times a week and I walk down there a few times a day, and it's not particularly sort of pedestrian or cycle friendly. I'm concerned with the kind of the limited nature of this one-way system and the fact that it's just a very small section. I also question the direction of travel for that one way, because I think the rat run is from Potton Road down Havelock, Lawrence, to avoid the traffic lights at Rose Lane, and also from Drove Road down into Lawrence Road to basically cut the corner from Potton Road, Drove Road Junction, and even at tidal times there are still. It seems to me there's much more traffic, so I think we should question how CBC arrived at the decision for the direction of travel in this, and I also generally don't think it goes far enough at all. If you want to improve walking and cycling in that area, it does need to be a low traffic neighbourhood, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Russell, I think I said.
It seems an awful long while ago when I stood on this corner of Lawrence Road with highways officers. I think you were there, Mayor, and other people, where there was at least one ward councillor. And we had a long discussion about all of this. And the reason that the direction of travel is the way it is because you've got the Bork, which goes out of town, and you don't want another road that goes out of town, because you're then pushing all the traffic all the way along Drove Road and back down London Road or over Potton Road Bridge. So that's the reason that it was done, whether colleagues agree with it or not. That's the reason why that was the direction of travel. The people there we were very aware of all the parking on Lawrence Road. And at least if this scheme comes into being, those houses that haven't got any off-street parking will be able to park without having all the problems you have now with the two-way traffic. So nothing is going to be ideal. It's a very old street. It's one of the oldest streets in the town. It was originally the way to the cemetery. That was how the street came into being. And I think I would like to propose that we support this proposal and see how it works in reality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Strawn?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The observation I got, and I had a look at this at the weekend, was I was concerned about the starting point of the no entry elements to it, in that it allows the St John's ambulance people to access it from both sides, but there actually is a gate for a property just within the area that would be one way, so they would have to go all the way around. So I think the principle, it doesn't matter how far it is, no entry in that respect. It's just whether the neighbours have been consulted as to the exact starting point of the no entry part. But I'm quite happy with the principle that we try it out and see, because Lawrence Road, which I think was originally Cemetery Road, is an awful place for parking and driving anyway. Having lived in the road many years ago when there wasn't nearly as much traffic, it was a nightmare if you didn't have parking off the road. So I think this must be an improvement if it stops a lot of the through traffic. But I think we've got to give it a try. But the only thing is, I'd just make that observation about that property, which has got gates there, which I presume would enable a vehicle to pull off by going in the other way. But that's, otherwise I think we've got to give it a go.
Okay, thank you. We've got Councillor Russell, then Councillor Jones.
Just to say that Councillor Strawn has made a good point, but when we did stand there talking about it, we pointed out the entrance to that property and we were told that it wouldn't be in. So I don't know whether this drawing's slightly out or whether, you know, somebody in Central Beds has decided different, but I think that Councillor Strawn's quite right that we should point that out in our response.
So we've got it. Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Thanks. The only thing I'd like to add is something about the signage. So there's trees on the left-hand side there, and I'm reflective of there's poor signage on Kingsreach, and people often get in trouble going the wrong way in the bus lane if the signage isn't really clear there, or the trees are overhanging on the no entry sign. I know it looks like there'll be something on the floor, but I know that cars park along on the left-hand side on Crab Lane as well. Just thinking about if we can just raise to make sure that the signage is really clear, I think that'd be important for people to follow.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments? So I have a proposal from Councillor Russell to essentially support this approach. We've had comments in relation to making sure the signage is good, and that we consider the fact that there's a gate there that may need to have access. Do I have a seconder for this proposal, please? Councillor Strawn. Any other comments before I take it to the vote? No, in which case, all those in favour then please show. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item then, which is the new street trading application. Peter, yeah, so we've got an additional sheet coming around to you in while we're waiting. Who's going to introduce it? That's fine. I'll just do that. Okay, it'll take a few moments if you wish to have a read through the additional information, and then think we're coming to the end of the perusal, so I'm going to, while everyone finishes off, you have the what this is in relation to Joe's Ice's new trading consent, new trading application for sort of new street trading application. Are there any comments in relation to this, please? Councillor Strawn and Councillor Russell.
Yes, I'm a little bit confused because from the original application, I obtained the impression that it was going to be there all the time for a set period. But from looking at the item that was on the original agenda, it would appear that it's possible that it's going to be rather like a normal ice cream van which drives around and stops at various locations for a short period of time, which is the historical base of an ice cream van in my experience, rather than being permanently on the market square for the hours that are set out there. So I'm a bit confused, particularly when we've got the additional bits of information we've just received as to exactly what this is.
Thank you. Councillor Russell.
Well, as far as the trading goes, 7 days a week. This says 11 till 6 on the original paper. The piece we've just got says 12 till 6. What none of the documentation has is a diagram to show exactly where this person thinks they want to trade. We don't particularly want them next to where Jerk trade at the moment because that's a parking place gone for them. Yes, well, what I'm saying is that is permanently losing a parking place on the market square during trading hours. So that's not acceptable. But it says on the hard standing near the cafe. We don't want anything standing and trading near the War Memorial. Where exactly does this mean? So we don't have the information. I think to be there 7 days a week is far too much. We do have other places in the town where people can get ice creams if they want it. I'm sorry, but I'm against this, and I'll hear what other people say, but I think we should say that we do not support this application.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Alban.
Yeah, so as this is an ice cream van, and it will be there from 12 till 6, so that's every day. That's a long time. Presumably the engine will be running in order to keep the to power the refrigeration. So if that's the case, it'll be sitting there on the market square with its polluting the environment for 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if that's the case, then I would definitely be against this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thomas.
It says on question 16, will you be using any equipment that may give rise to complaints, e.g. generators? I assume that means engines anyway, and it says no. So are they using town electricity? It's full of holes.
Okay.
That's the problem with this application. It's the same as all the applications we get. Not all the answers are there. That's why we reject them sometimes.
So, Councillor Skilton.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'm just sort of a bit confused as to what we're actually being asked here, because this came up at TCM, and I was under the impression from that TCM meeting that we have absolutely no say in this whatsoever, which is obviously unacceptable because we are the market authority and this effectively is going in the market. I think it's a real shame that we've got a situation where the Highway Authority can grant licences to traders completely independently of town council who run the market. And I just wonder if there might be opportunity to extend our remit as the market authority and license trading on non-market days, but for suitable traders such as Jerk Hub perhaps, or even an ice cream van if the council or the public want it. But it just seems that we're in a situation where this may happen whether we like it or not, and that just seems unacceptable to me.
Okay. I see Councillor Fage has raised his hand, and I think the standing orders require me to invite members to suspend standing orders to allow Councillor Fage to speak. So, are you happy for me to suspend standing orders to allow Councillor Fage to speak, please? Okay, Councillor Fage, over to you.
Thank you. I was worried you were going to say no. I would fully have understood, by the way. So just to, I'm a member of the licensing committee, a proud member, and I think if I've learned one thing on licensing over the years, if you have any doubts, you should object and object hard. So the town TCM is not, can't be consulted, but the town council is. And so you make a resolution as council. You are a consultee. I'm not. I can't comment, and I have tried in the past. They said noted, but you're not a consultee. However, town council is. So I don't have the extra documentation that you have in front of you. I've been looking online, but I can't find it. If you wanted, it sounds like you might be minded to object based on what you've seen. If you are, I'm happy to share I think there's 4 principles that you need to try to tie in with that are embedded somewhere in some policy at Central Beds. If you'd like me to fish them out and share them, just so that you can tie your objection back to some of those, if you're that way inclined.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. That's helpful. So, Councillor Russell.
Another issue here is that we do have an ice cream van.
Oh, hang on, I've just remembered. Councillor Strawn, are you okay? I didn't reinstate standing orders. I just want to make sure that we do that. Reinstate standing orders. That's right. Normally you pick me up on it. I just thought I'd raise the point. Councillor Russell, carry on.
Okay, I was just going to say that we very often have an ice cream van on the market on Saturdays. So there's an issue there as well if we have 2 ice cream vans, and how that affects things. So I think, having heard what colleagues are saying, that I would formally propose that we do, as we were advised, strongly object. I think there's the issue of where, there's no indication of where. There's the issue of trading times, because one document says one thing, one says another. So is it 12 till 6 or 11 till 6? There's the question of how they keep things cold. So if they don't have a generator or anything, do they keep the engine running, in which case there's a pollution issue. So I think we've got quite a bit there to go back on, and certainly we would want to know where, but just say we don't want that 7 days a week on the market square.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that proposal? I said Councillor North, Councillor Strawn.
I think that we need to add a little bit to it, if I might suggest, particularly as a comment with regard to the item that's actually on the agenda, to standing on a hard standing near the cafe. I think that should be specifically included in our objection to this, is that we do specifically object to where it's being proposed.
I'm going to, if you don't mind, Councillor, I think Councillor Russell, what Councillor Russell is saying is, it's not clear where the hard standing is.
Well, there's no diagram to show
exactly.
where it is.
So,
yes, but it's actually saying roughly where it is. I appreciate it's not detailed, but it's detailed enough to know that it doesn't appear to be on the street. But I think so we ought to make quite clear that we don't want it on the hard standing at all, from what was being said earlier, because it's close to the memorial.
Okay, Councillor Thomas.
The other question is, how does it get onto the hard standing? Does it just drive on when it feels like it? Is it going to get past all the cars, all this sort of thing? Is it going to be moving while people are in the market, or normally during the day? And as far as I know, Jerk doesn't have 1 space, it has 2. And this will be a 3rd one if it's on the street. So how many more people are going to park there and take up the parking spaces?
Okay, so the proposal is that we object on the basis that we've no indication what the exact location is, that we don't support any form of trading times. We're concerned about the how it might be sort of what's the wording, the generations, what generator, and also the specific reference to the hard standing, the location again. So the 2 items about the location aren't clear. So it's proposed and seconded. I've got Councillor Skilton want to add something else into that.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, I just think we're kind of objecting strongly, and we don't actually know the full details. I don't know if we can include something to say that we would reconsider this application if more information, because I'm not against, in principle, having an ice cream van on the market square at appropriate times in an appropriate location. So I just think maybe, make it clear that the level of detail we've received in this application isn't good enough to make an informed decision, but we can only object on what we've got.
Okay.
Sorry, I wouldn't accept that amendment, because I think, looking around the table, that most of us are very unhappy about having an ice cream van at all. So I wouldn't accept what councillor Skelton's asking.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thomas.
There's also the question of if it turns up on a market day, does it realise that they're going to get charged?
Right.
And are they going to take the electricity those days and are they going to turn it off the same as jerk chicken does?
Right. So I think I appreciate the comment, Councillor Thomas. I think if we're looking at the principles of this application, and I think we've addressed it with the proposal and so the details there. Appreciate Councillor Rushy, you're not supporting Councillor Skelton's amendment. So are we required to take a vote on the amendment? So do I need to have a second of the amendment? Thank you. I was getting to that. So do we need a second for Councillor Skelton's amendment to that we object on the basis so far, but the information we have isn't sufficient to make, and we may reconsider in future. Would that be it? Councillor Agnew seconding that. So I'm going to have a vote on the amendment, please. All those please in support, please show the amendment. And against. So the amendment has terminology failed, whatever the terminology is. So I'm going to now go back to the original vote. All those in favour, please show. And against, please. And that is then carried. Thank you very much. Councillor Alban.
In view of Councillor Fage's remarks about the town council as a consultee, can we ensure that future licence applications come to the full council rather than TCM?
Quite right, and I think we'll take Councillor Fage up with his offer of the information as well to ensure that the wording of our objection is covered within the parameters. Although we've got the wordings from here, but just to make sure that we're fully covered. Okay, thank you. Shall we move on? We're now on 9C, Community Governance Review. So you'll have seen what this is relating to. It's the Central Beds looking to engage with town and parish councils to give us a warning of the consultation and considering options around creation or merger of alteration of abolition of current parishes, renaming of parishes, electoral arrangements, grouping of parishes under new common parish. Everything seems to be up for consideration. I think Councillor Alban first and Councillor Russell. Councillor Alban.
In the past, we've attempted to, we've asked for the boundary to be moved to basically take in Sainsbury's. So beyond the boundary is currently in Bellsbrook. In the past, we've asked for it to be moved to the A1. We were rebuffed when we asked before, but I think it's worth asking again. But in view of what's written here, we would need to talk to Norville first. So I would like to see the boundary in that area moved so that it incorporates. It basically runs along the A1 until it meets the old Great North Road as that meets the A1.
Okay.
So that would take in Sainsbury's and it would take in the recycling centre as well.
So I've got Councillor Russell, Councillor. I think just from the chair, I'm just conscious that any proposals though would need to have formal sort of a consultation with any neighbouring parish councils. So I think bear that in mind. But I think there a number of us have had similar views to you, Councillor Alban. But Councillor Russell, I'm going to come to you.
This is very wide-ranging. I don't really see how we can discuss this tonight properly. I mean, we're talking about parish boundaries. We're talking about the possibility of merging councillors, some sorts of super parish councils. We're also talking about electoral arrangements, numbers of councillors and all the rest of it. So this is very wide-ranging. And I would like to propose that we have a working group where we can go through this in some detail, and whatever comes out of the working group, we can then liaise with neighbouring councils as necessary. I don't disagree with what this council tried to do in 2017, but I think we need to look at it properly. So I would like to propose a working group.
Okay, any other comments in relation to Councillor North?
Well, I was just going to mention that Councillor Alban said the boundary in that area was Bells Brook. I believe it's the river, actually.
Boundary goes downhill lane from the A1 as far as the river and then along the river.
And Sainsbury's and that big house there are in North.
So,
And the flats
given
there.
that there is that maybe a little bit of uncertainty, and also the fact that I think you're right, Councillor Russell, that that there may be, it's quite wide ranging. There may be some options here for us. I think we probably need to have an approach or a consistent approach of what we're looking to try and achieve from this. There's perhaps a different way forward. So, Councillor Strong.
I think this working group is a sensible way forward on this, and I second the proposal there. It's far more detailed and complex than just nice, just moving a line here or there. I think it needs a bit more consideration so that we can have a rational argument for what we're trying to do. And I don't think we can necessarily do that in a council meeting off the cuff. So a working group seems sensible.
Okay. Are there any other comments in relation to this one for the moment? Okay, so have we got, before we take it to the vote on a working group, any sort of suggestions or what a date, what that might look like, or any, are we looking, if it does go through in that direction, then agree a date in due course? Any, is that sort of the way?
Well, just my comment that it says here that they're starting what looks like a sort of formal process on the 30th of June.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we should have our statement or position clarified by that date, which is obviously about 3 months away.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we can get the thing started within a couple of weeks, that would be the right period, probably.
Okay. All right. Well,
it should probably be a Tuesday because that's when most people are available.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's hold fire on a particular date. So let's take it to the vote and then see whether we're actually we end up in that road. So all those in favour then of that approach of a working group, and on this, please show. That looks to be everyone. Thank you very much, and we'll agree work a date. Okay. Next item then, plan applications. So we're on item 10A, 154 Hitchin Street, appeal reference. This is the erection of two bedroom houses with associated landscaping. Any comments on this one, please? Councillor Alba.
This is for permission in principle.
Yeah.
So we did previously object to that on highways access. Central Beds objected to it just as a general sort of development. They didn't take highways access into account. But I'm assuming that if this does pass and the planning application comes in, then we could still raise highways access, because that is the big issue as far as I'm concerned. So I mean that is the case, isn't it? I'm just looking for confirmation of that.
I think that's the case, Peter. Yeah. So yes. So on that basis, we're I'm not sure what our approach is now. Then, so Councillor Russell, go on.
Well, we've got two objections there: highways access and overdevelopment, and I think they stand.
Yep.
But this is an appeal.
Yes, exactly.
So what are we supposed to be doing?
I think that's what I think it's perhaps more for information rather, because we're not looking to be inputting into this appeal. Is that correct, Peter? So the information is there. So I'm not sure that it actually should even be in here under a planning application. It should be information rather than, so it should have struck it off to begin with. Councillor Strong.
In which case, I think, as you say, it should be information. Therefore, we note the position.
Thank you. All right. Should have picked up with that earlier, but let's move on then to 10B, 8 The Avenue, variation of condition numbers 2 and 3 of planning application. So again, variation of condition. Any comments in relation to this one? I think it's a neighbour, yeah. So we're on 10C, land to the north and south of Dunton Lane. This, so obviously Councillor Fage referenced this earlier. Any comments in relation to this, please? Councillor Alban, then Councillor Skilton.
Yeah, so in addition to Councillor Fage's comments earlier, which was around landscapes, I know the documents I saw, there were concerns raised about landscape, but there were serious concerns raised about the archaeology there. Yep. So the archaeology team are obviously very upset about how things have panned out, and they object to this because there's nothing in place. There's no description about how the archaeological resource, and there's serious archaeology there, how it would be preserved in situ. There's no documentation about how that would happen. So the archaeology team is suggesting the applicant withdraws the application and gets a process in place that actually describes how they would protect the archaeology there. And I think this is serious. In my opinion, is serious enough for us to object on that basis. Highways have also raised some concerns as well. So the officers of CBC have raised quite a few objections to this, and the actual principle of the development there, I've got no issue with, but the way the process has worked, I definitely have. So I would like to see that we object. I'll propose we object on the grounds that the archaeology is in danger of being destroyed here, and as Councillor Fage suggested earlier, on the landscaping issues.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that proposal, please? Okay, any other comments in relation to this one? Councillor Skilton?
Yeah, just on this really, obviously the landscaping is inadequate in here, as Councillor Fage has mentioned. I also think, I'm not sure if these have to have the same sort of net biodiversity net gain as other developments. I couldn't quite make that out from the planning application, but the fact that we're having so many battery storage units in this area, plus the substation, which all of these kinds of development by their very nature are so sterile because the way they have to stop critters getting into, they can get in and create fires and things like that, but they just gravel everything, and the net biodiversity loss there is going to be huge in that area. There's going to be acres of completely sterile land, which I think is awful. So I think we need to be pushing for the landscaping to be as biodiverse friendly as we can. And I don't know if ecology is one of the things we can object on, but if it is, I think we should include that in the objection.
Okay, so Councillor Alban, are you happy to include a reference to that in your proposal?
Yes, definitely, because the ecology teams from CBC also objected, and they were asking for further information.
Okay, thank you. So I can't remember who actually, did anyone second your proposal? So are you happy with that as well, Councillor Russell? Yeah, so thank you. Any other comments in relation to this then, please? So all those in favour of that approach, please show. That is unanimous, thank you very much. We'll move on to number 10D now, 26 Arval Gardens, erection of front part, single 2-part story extension, etc. Council, any comments, please? Councillor Alban? Yeah, it's you today.
Yeah, so I propose we don't object to this, but as long as the tree and landscape officer's concerns are taken into account, because there is concern over the impact to the potential impact to lime, like the mature lime trees that are there. So yeah, I move we don't object as long as those comments are taken into account and they're covered by appropriate conditions.
Okay, second of that proposal, please. I'll second then. All those in favour then, please show. I think that's unanimous, thank you. Next item then, we're going to go, this is the works to trees within a conservation area. This is Brigham House, 93 High Street. Comments, please. No.
it's been decided.
Yeah, so we rule that one out as well. So we move directly on to 10F, the ploughhouse demolition, the ploughhouse 276 London Road, demolition of two existing houses, existing buildings, removal of pre-existing mobile home, etc. Any comments on this one, please? Councillor Russell.
I think we should object as before on the basis of highways safety, right on the top of Topless Hill.
Yep.
There have been several accidents there over the past.
Okay. Councillor Alban.
I agree with that, but it appears that national highways don't. So I can't understand why they wouldn't be concerned. But yeah, I'd happily second that.
Again, and it's one of those ones where we object, and then depending on what the response is from central beds. So, okay, then any other comments in relation to this one? No, so all those in favour of that approach, then please show. Okay, any against? Any abstentions? Okay, that is carried. Thank you. And we're going to move now on to 10G, 2 Maple Close, 2-storey side and single-storey lean-to front extension. Comments, please. Oh, hang on. Is that subject to neighbours? Subject to neighbours. Okay, thank you. 10H, 16 Turing Road, erection of rear storey conservatory. Comments? Again, subject to neighbours. Yep. 79 to 10I, 79 Daffodil Drive, single-storey rear extension and garage conversion. Okay, subject to neighbours. Yep. And then 10J, the vicarage, so the works of trees within the conservation area. Any comments on this one? No. So we're against. So we'll note that then. Yep. Okay. Planning application outcomes is next, and 11A. So slightly abbreviated report, which is gives us the most recent actions. Comments, please.
I'm just a bit surprised that the two that we've got here are the schools, and the target dates September and December 24. But I would note that lots of us have had complaints about people dropping off kids at Biggleswade Academy. We objected on the grounds of highway safety concerns, and there are lots of problems at the moment with people blocking blocking residents' drives and all the rest of it, parking on verges when they shouldn't be parking on verges. So I'm quite interested to know why these planning applications are taking so long. I'm not sure that there's anything we can do about it, but that would be my comment about this report.
It's absolutely worth noting, Councillor Russell. I think if we can ask the officers to look into that and provide an update at the next meeting, that would be helpful. Any other comments? I think there's not much else in relation to this, so shall we note the report and move on to the next item? Okay, thank you. We are now on to item 12, accounts. So, Mr. Bohr, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the usual 4 reports are on the council's website, and this includes the balance sheet, the income statement account, and the payment listing. So the payment listing include all BACS payment throughout January 2025, and all payment over £500, direct debits and standing orders as well. The projected outturn after month 10, which is January 2025, suggests a deficit of just over 25,000. And as been mentioned before, the main reason for this deficit is the pitch maintenance and the legal fees concerning regarding the land regarding land north. The deficit is coming down considerably, mainly because of increase in operation income, and also the fact that officers are doing all that we can to be more efficient in sourcing expenditure, or more efficient in reviewing our contracts as well. Other reasons are also we are trying to be more effective outside, increasing our marketing activities. And there is a report coming to finance next Tuesday, just to inform members about how we are doing in terms of being effective. The recommendation is for members to please approve the January financial management report. I'll welcome any questions.
Okay, thank you. And from the chair, just initially, it's good to see that that deficit is reducing. I think considering the pressures that we've had over the last 12 months, and you referenced those in your comments, Mr. Ward, I think it's good to be that we're actually seeing that reduce. So that's my input, I guess. But I'm going to open up to everybody else to make comments. Any comments and feedback, please? Anyone? Councillor Strong?
Well, unless members have got comments, I think we should welcome the fact that the deficit is improving, shall we say. So I think that's a welcome, and congratulations to the accounts team in having got that, and hopefully it will continue over the next 3 weeks to the end of the year, and that the deficit, when we see the end of year accounts, will be better. But otherwise, subject to any questions or members may have, I'd move that we note the report and approve it, and thank the officers for their efforts in continuing the reduction of the deficit.
Okay, thank you. A second there. So any other comments before we take to the vote? Okay, all those in favour then please show. That looks to be unanimous. Thank you very much. We are now no items for information. So we're now back to item 14, public open session, adjourned for a period of up to 15 minutes to allow members of the public to put questions or address the council, etc., etc. Any members of the public wishing to speak? Any members of the public online? In which case, so I'm just looking at Peter's direction because he's waiting for it. So resolve that the following resolution be moved, that it's advisable in the public interest the public and press are excluded whilst the following exempt item is discussed. Community agent service level agreement pursuant to section 12 of the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, council to resolve to exclude the public and press by reason of the confidential nature of the business about to be transacted. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Meeting